January 2020 was the last time I talked about Defiance on the channel, specifically its 2050 relaunch version. It was an MMO looter shooter that had the interesting premise of not only being a massively multiplayer online video game, but a video game that followed along and intertwined with a TV show of the same name. It was a fascinating project that ultimately shuttered its service a year after my initial video in April of 2021. Not long after, fans of the game began work on a private server that would bring the game back online. But this is where the story takes quite a weird turn. Instead of a private server bringing the game back to life, an indie game studio does. That indie game studio being Fox Games. No, not that Fox. This Fox. Fox Games is a bit of an oddity in the online space. Apparently, they are a company that have been obtaining the rights to various old online games. Games like Shia, Last Chaos, Desert Operations, Wargame 1942, and now Defiance. It's a bit of a weird business strategy, buying the rights to forgotten dead online games and relaunching them. And while sure they do this in an effort to bring the game back and ultimately make money, it's something we don't really see in the online MMO space. If anything, it at least preserves these old games in a way that essentially makes it official versus playing around in the legal gray area of private servers. So with Defiance officially being revived under Fox in April of 2025, players finally got to dive back into the game after 4 years of it being offline. Let's talk about the revival of Defiance, what its future may hold, and if you should give it a shot.
The world of Defiance never truly disappeared. It was always waiting for the right moment to return. That moment is now. The fight continues, and the legacy of the Ark Hunters lives on.
When Fox Games announced their plans to revive Defiance, the community rejoiced in the opportunity to come back to the game. Videos on YouTube on the Fox Games channel have a decent amount of views and engagement for their Defiance content, so there is definitely an audience for this game. Now, Fox has been incredibly transparent with their goals for Defiance. The studio's goals are laid out on their website for everyone to see. Basically, their vision is laid out in these important key points. Get the game stable with bug fixes and quality of life. Keep it online and keep players engaged so they keep playing. Follow community feedback. Merge the base version with the best features of the 2050 version. Re-release the game on Steam and, if possible, back onto consoles like PlayStation and Xbox. Keep the game free to play and fair with its monetization through the cash shop. And ultimately, once the stars align, introduce brand new content to the game. Obviously, all of that comes with struggles. Fox is a small indie studio. They aren't going to have a massive team working on this project. And of course, since they are a business, they also need to make money, which they explain in their article. I respect Fox for rallying the community and explaining the game's situation. Transparency like this is not normally seen from companies, so it's a breath of fresh air to see all the cards on the table. Now it's on the community's hands, which all hinges on the game's playability. So let's talk about the game. Defiance's relaunch brings the game back to its initial base version with some restoration of missing DLC updates. Sadly though, Fox could not retain any of the game's data when they acquired Defiance, so everyone is starting fresh. Pretty much everything you know about the free-to-play shooter is here. The loot, progression, open world content, vehicles, gunplay, it's all here, at least barring some missing content obviously. Logging back into the game for the first time since my video in 2020, I was met with a wave of nostalgia. The initial quest missions, story cutscenes, the gunplay, loot rarities, leveling up my guns and equipment, it really brought me back. Effectively, everything I covered in my initial video back in 2020 still applies, so I'm not going to go majorly in depth about every system here. The main things to keep in mind mind is that Fox's version of Defiance is missing quite a bit of content in comparison to the 2050 version, but the developers are working on restoring all of that missing content. But all of the important features that would keep people playing are here, with my favorite content being the massively open world events called Arc Falls. Arc Falls are these huge open world multiplayer battles that have you fighting waves and waves of enemies and then finally a boss. It's a chaotic mess of explosions, bullets, and death, but it's by far some of the most fun that Defiance has to offer. Now, Defiance in general is a decade-plus-old game, so new players coming into it will have to accept its older graphics and jankiness, and boy is there some jank. I'm not sure if this was an issue in the original version of Defiance, but the game overall feels a bit less polished than when I played it in its 2050 version. I have confidence that how the game feels will get ironed out over time by the developers, but it is worth noting that there is a bit of server lag, desyncing, and bugginess. Graphically, the game is on par with the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era, so it's not absolutely terrible graphics or anything, but obviously it's not on par with newer games. On a positive note though, those rockin' catchy techno battle themes will never get on your nerves as you are playing, something I can't believe I didn't comment on in my original video. But seriously, this game's soundtrack is pretty damn good. Cash shop wise, Defiance used to have things like legendary guns you could just straight up buy from the cash shop, as well as other items that would effectively let you turbo power up your items and gear. In the relaunch of Defiance, all of that has been removed, with really the only debatably pay-to-win items being left are things like inventory expansions and XP boosters. Removing the egregious pay-to-win items is a major step in the right direction to earning goodwill from players, so I have to give props to the developers for doing so. Overall, if you missed out on it the first time, there is a lot of fun to be had in Defiance, especially if you can get a group of friends playing with you. The game is definitely not perfect, let's be real here. It's got some age on it nowadays, and of course some oddities in its gameplay, but there is a die-hard fan base here. Obviously, if you are a veteran to Defiance, odds are you are already playing. I think the game has a decent shot of growing its player base when the game relaunches on Steam and potentially consoles, but it's going to have an uphill battle. Realistically, if the game has any hopes of seeing further success, it's going to take a lot of effort on both Fox and the community. In terms of the game's community, you will find players a lot more chatty than it was in comparison to when I played the 2050 version. Thankfully, you will see players talking about trading items, calling for groups, and generally just having conversations about the game. Even doing random content, I had players sending me group and friend requests. Unfortunately, there are times when the game's chat is dead silent, especially during off hours, but on peak times like during the weekends, there is a lot more life, which is great to see. This is one of those rare times in a video game's life where it has a second chance, and Fox has asked the community to come back and give it another shot. Whether or not the players choose to give Fox a chance with Defiance, though, will determine its fate. The game isn't in its best state right now, but there does seem to be a small population showing up. Personally, if Fox can bring back a game like Defiance, then maybe we can see them revive other games that deserve a second chance. Anyways, are you playing the relaunch of Defiance? Comment below and let me know. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel to support my content. Follow all my social media in the description below, and I hope to see you all next time.